Recording, it's recording now. And hello everyone, how are you doing today? Before I introduce my wonderful guest, let me quickly get our wonderful channel sponsor out of the way, Aho Patrick's. You know him, you love him. Wonderful patches. You should go buy patches today. Oh, yeah, the coupon code, that's right. Coupon code AGCast for 10% off your order. All right. You are not Dr. Death. Who are you?
You know who I am.
Yes, but the audience doesn't know who you are. Okay. Who are you, Katz? What do you do? What are you?
So, for the people who don't know me, because frankly I've been absent, I am one of the admins over on the catalog. I'm roughly involved in the beta review process right now, so I work with Dr. Death a lot. And that's about all I do for now. I am a dev. I'm working on most of the Beretta projects that are out there. There are a few that are not mine, but if it's a Beretta, I've probably worked on it.
Well, yeah, I was going to mention that too. So I know you've been on the channel before, I think with Freeman. You were talking about your 92 project. I believe PSR had a video on it before. He might have nuked his channel. I'm not sure if it's still on there. But it's the Beretta 92 project, and you had a pocket pistol one that I remember. But, you know, that's another stream for another day, I suppose. You say you're absent. You really, again, you just do more stuff behind the scenes, I guess. You're not that much on social media, which more power to you. In all honesty, it keeps you nice and grounded and actually just worrying about important things in life. But go ahead and let's go ahead and start with the first one. What do we got here first for our first beta?
Yeah, so we have, big surprise, another LCP project. I know how that sounds. This project, I know how that sounds. I've been in this long enough. I know how that sounds.
To be honest, I haven't seen that many LCP projects. You see a lot of random, like, you know, your funny Saturday Night Special projects. The problem is the LCP is such a popular, like, pocket pistol that I wouldn't be surprised, like, Gunbroker probably, or, like, you know what it's like, every gun part, probably, you can usually find a lot of parts kits for these often, and I bet Foscat probably had one too for a while, but if we know anything about Foscat files is you shouldn't actually use them. So okay, going back to exactly where we are, we'll do a smooth transition back. Okay, so what makes this LCP file different from the rest? So besides the PLA stuff, so what is he doing? Anything special about it? Is he using more common, like, the picture you sent me, what I really respect are the Phillips head screws on there. I like that a lot. It adds it adds more aesthetic to this than I think you really appreciate. But, you know, it's nice. I like that. So, you know, what else about this is nice? I know there's, I think, an LCP V1 or like an LCP 1 and an LCP 2. I don't know if there's a difference.
Yeah, this is an LCP 1, which is supposedly the harder one, if I understand. The LCP 2 is a little easier to work with 3D print, just from what I've heard. But I don't know. I haven't looked into the CAD. So what this dev has told me is the LCP is actually a cartridge style that fits onto the grip panel that's not the regulated part. And what he's done is taken that grip module and turned it into the frame. Great idea. I've thought about doing it in my I've thought about it for other designs, and I'm sure other people have too. But from what I understand, he can't get away from metal rails, so he is working with a rail vendor. But he's trying to keep it under $15, I think, is what he said. So, like, I mean, we're talking pretty cheap to keep, you know, the $60 gun less than $100, which I can appreciate all around.
So you mentioned a wonderful thing such as price. So, of course, you know, mark your calendars exactly when this is uploaded. Okay, you know, we'll see if we have... We are no forgotten weapons here, but I've realized that we have a problem with parts kits whenever we mention them. So, all right, you heard that price. That's one of the prices on May 17th. So that should tell you.
Don't post this before Sunday so I can buy my own.
Okay, well, don't worry, I'm lazy anyways. I already ruined this myself. We already set the date, so whenever I upload, it'll be more shame. So I'll probably, to be honest, I was gonna try to get this. I'm gonna pump this out tonight, and that'll be even funnier if I do it. But we'll see. Yeah. So
that would be funny.
But to be honest, I think everyone would be happier if I could do it today. But yeah. So okay. So what you're telling me is, so this is kind of like a grip module thing, right? So
yeah.
So there is instead of metal, I guess, like there's a metal housing for everything, but I guess there's no rails included in that. I don't really work with LCPs much, so I don't perhaps I don't know.
So what happens? What happens with the grip module frames is the cartridge, the metal frame on the inside, is what's regulated. So that's not the part we get.
Okay.
So we're rebuilding that part, and a lot of devs will choose, or I'd imagine devs choose to try to just replicate that part and then use the pre-made grip modules.
Okay.
He's printing everything all as one piece, which honestly is just the way to go.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I guess you could probably also, if you really wanted to too, you could, if you put the step files for everyone, you could also turn this, put some fun stipples on it as well. It'd be nice to have a nice stippled LCP, but that's for later on, I suppose. I didn't realize LCPs were part kits were that cheap, but another thing too is because I guess I should mention, so you say this is for the part 1 kit, so with the parts, I guess the V2, I guess the LCP2, I'm not a big LCP person myself, but I know there's 2 versions of it. Would the newer version work with this frame as well?
As far as I understand, no, but he will be working on that in the future, from what I understand.
I'm assuming the older parts kits are probably cheaper too, so that's probably for the best, but yeah, okay. That's, I guess, nice to know just in case you do have the, the V2 parts kits or whatever the newer version is. I think they do differentiate them. I think it's the LCP1 and the LCP2 or something like that, right? Actually,
that's how I've heard it.
This is pre-recorded. Just give me a second. I could just solve this right now. Why am I doing this? Back with the power of editing, it is the LCP2. So if you have the LCP2, the parts kits should not work with this one, but if you have an LCP1, so just the original one, that should be fine. I don't know the parts kit prices for either of these, but it seems like the parts kit for the V1, or I guess the normal one, is cheap enough as the time of recording this. We'll see how long that lasts. But okay, all right. This will be an interesting project. I mean, this is kind of what I imagine of pocket pistols. Usually, it is a very famous pocket pistol. You could probably find some decent pocket holsters with it. This would be a fun little project just to try, especially with that parts kit price. This is kind of one of the, I wouldn't say it's the best carry gun, but it is definitely. I had a friend with one of these. They are they're snappy. I don't really like them, but they are tiny. That I will give them credit where credit's due. Yeah. They are tiny, and you can really put them anywhere. Not the most pleasant to shoot, but this is kind of like a last-ditch effort pistol anyway. So it's like that. That's kind of the argument you get with this one of like it does what it needs to do of being a very concealable handgun. Is it a great handgun? No, but you shouldn't be taking like 25-meter shots with this handgun anyways. Or
just try and not get into any fights with it at all, because
honestly it's a last resort. Yeah, like it's a snappy gun. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but like it is rather concealable. But I guess, I'm not really oh, go ahead.
I haven't shot one, but I'm sure it's like a shield in 40. It's gonna hurt. It's just gonna hurt.
I mean, I have my shield. Like, I shot my shield and I've shot this. So the 380 is not, doesn't have the most recoil, right? But the gun, like, it doesn't feel that. The shield, I think, feels more ergonomic in my hand. That like I can still keep it down even with like the shorter grip on it. This one is 380, and I still it kicks about as much as my shield, but it shouldn't. Because it's 380.
It shouldn't. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know if you've ever shot a PPK in 380.
You're really rubbing that one in. Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't shot a PPK. Go ahead, tell me. How was shooting a PPK 380? Did you get to shoot the James Bond gun? Did you play music in your head too?
It's just not pleasant. It's not pleasant. It's
if Bond
direct
can do
flowback.
it, I can do it.
So yeah, the web of your hand, it's just not. Yeah, just a little sore after a little while. I wish that gun shot better.
You should have been more.
But I understand why it doesn't.
You should have been more of a man. All right. If Sean Connery could shoot it, I could shoot. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So
I don't. Bond shot a Beretta 950, and I can't. It's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I hate that gun.
I forgot you love. We'll have to have you all wanted to just talk about Berettas because those are cool guns to some extent, but yeah, that's a different time for a different day. Okay, so I guess really there isn't too much else to add to it, I guess. Let's go to the next one. What do we got next?
Yeah, so this is a twofer, actually.
Okay.
This dev has made a scope rail, if you will, Picatinny rail, for your regular for those people who have actual 1022 frames. I don't know those guys. I don't know who they are, but
dude, they cost too much, man. I don't want to spend $300 on a 22, man. I could just get the CMMG stuff. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting again.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Perfectly timed. But he did design a scope rail, and with that, he designed a very simple cheek riser. And I mean, this thing uses 2 nuts, 2 screws. Amazing.
This is goofy
Love it.
looking. This is okay. My this is beautiful art, and the person who did it should be proud of themselves. You know, you're special. This is just this is amazing. Like this is the type of thing that I would imagine. Like, this is the Bubba type of stuff. But at least with this one, you aren't spending like $30 at a gun show for it. You're spending like 20 cents on PLA filament. I like this a lot. This is very simple.
I love it.
And like, again, it's a 1022. So
Oh,
yeah, it's not like the heaviest. Like, yeah, it's not like a 308. Shouldn't really break on you. It does. For a second, I had to like actually zoom in to see the layer lines. Like, yeah, this is printed. Okay.
Yeah, you can see it.
But go ahead.
I will say this is absolutely the spirit of 3D printing, not 3D printing guns, but solving problems in your own home.
Absolutely.
I fucking love it.
Oh yeah, no, I always tell that to Freeman. What I loved, I think one of my favorite Freeman projects, like it isn't even really the Boomer, despite me really liking the 1911. It is his AR-15 speed loader. I've gotten so many people to 3D print that just because it's just convenient. Like, those speed loaders cost you like how much? Like, $60, $50. It cost me about 20 cents in filament. Really, I think the only expensive part of that was the AR-15 mag spring and mag catch, which if you're like me and you're in the 3D printed gun community, you probably have a lot of AR-15 lower parts kits you have no idea what to do with. So this was like, oh, thank goodness I could finally use this mag spring and mag release. Personally, we could talk about that another point, actually, probably to do that for the conclusions. But I like the more practical things. And again, like, this is a 1022, so this is not this isn't a combat rifle. I don't like using the word the military rifle type of thing, but like, this isn't something you would take to combat. So like a nice Picatinny rail for a 22 scope, you don't really need it to be the most of highest quality material. Honestly, this is a fun little thing to do, especially if you just have an old 1022 that you just kind of want to mess around with, just want to plink with. This is a good way to do it, I would say.
Yeah. You shooting squirrels? I mean, I don't know why you'd shoot squirrels with a 22, but I mean, you could.
I mean, what kind of a sadistic? I thought you were the furry here, but okay. Let me go ahead and ask some basic things I could think of right now. So I'm looking a little bit at this. So does this go over a wooden stock, or is this like, again, I don't really know much about 1022s.
I don't own one, so I don't either, unfortunately. Judging from the line in that stock, I would assume that it fits that's a good question.
Because I looking at this right now, so my friend, he has one of the Magpul ones, and the Magpul ones, if you guys know the Magpul stuff, that has a special Magpul shoulder, like the cheek riser thing on it, which, okay, cool, that's Magpul stuff, but that's a Magpul stock, and that costs, honestly, almost as much as the gun cost. The traditional one, I know they have the wooden one, which the one that you've shown to me looks like wood, which it seems like, okay, in that case, that's probably fine for a lot of people, actually, because that's a lot of the 1022s are. I want to say they have like a Hogue one, like the black polymer stuff, like you find on like 870s or Maverick 88s too. But it doesn't look like there are any like inserts really in the wood that it's going into, so I think it should be fine.
I don't think that's a wood stock.
It might be a polymer stock that looks like a wood stock.
No, that's definitely a polymer stock. Look at the stippling on the forend.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at a
scope photo.
Okay, so scope photo. That's 100% polymer. The one in the picture that you showed me the other.
Oh, the tiny. I sent you the tiny photo.
Yeah,
it might be big photo.
It might be the tiny one on that one. Oh, in that case, yeah, that's totally polymer. Okay, that's totally polymer. All right. Yeah. All right.
What I can't tell is I think he designed it as like a taco shape, and it compresses and clamps onto the stock. So it might work.
Honestly, yeah, no, it looks like it should be fine for the wood one too. I think it seems like it should just work on it. Really, actually, I'm kind of curious if it's just a clamp on. Could you put it on other things too?
There are 2 ribs, so it's made for this stock.
Okay,
so that answers it.
All right. What I always love about the beta project stuff too, as well, is if you have a wooden stock or you have any of the other stuff, of course you can join the beta too and help out as well. And the ultimate thing for this type of stuff is, that a nice thing about the beta process, and you could probably add a little bit to this too, is having multiple people with multiple different setups to test out. I guess, multiple different setups. If you have the wood stock, well, okay, well, could this work for the wood stock? All right, if it does, then great. If it doesn't, okay, well, actually, all we need to do is just adjust this little thing a little bit, and now it works just fine. Okay, great. Now we have it solved, so you can have it multiple release for just like it's. If you have a wood stock or something, that'd be perfect for this. I want to say if you have a mag pull one, because those ones are actually really cool. I think that one actually, they have a special mag pull one for that, but I wonder if you can get something like this to work on that. The sky's the limit for this episode.
I'm sure you could adapt it.
Of course. So I guess, this one looks mostly for the polymer one, though. I mean, this is just a fun little practical thing. I guess, this isn't really a frame. We got the 1022 frame. Actually, wait, would this work on the 1022 frame, like the printed ones? Or is it... I don't own a 1022. I'll be 100% honest with you. I have never touched a 3D printed 1022. I don't really know much about them. I know a lot of people made their own versions of it. I had never bought a 1022.
The 1022s out there already have rails on top, so...
Okay, yeah. So I guess this is for the older ones, then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, maybe. If you've got a metal frame. No, that's a metal frame.
Yeah, it's a metal frame. I got that. Like, because I've seen I've seen so many different 1022s too, of like variants of it. I think I've seen some in perfect wood. I've seen some in polymer. I've seen some in like, I want to say different like polymer than this. Really, let's be honest. I guess there's really not much else we can add to this, right?
No.
But like, this could be the conclusion at this point. There's been a lot of frames that like, from when God, we're really going back, I guess. I feel like I'm getting older in this. Back in 2021, there was a lot more 1022 stuff. Like, a lot more people were doing 1022 stuff. I want to say Aussie had, what was it? There was, like, the Trident. There was the Galileo.
There was Ivan's. Now Ivan's. DB's Perfect.
DB's one. Like, everyone was dropping these. But then I feel like the problem became then the CMMG conversion kit was about like $100, and it came like $150, and it came with 3 mags. And let's just be honest with ourselves here. If you're a 3D printed gun developer, that CMMG like bolt conversion kit is a godsend, because that takes literally all of the stress out of everything you do. Like, that is its own little self-contained like operating system in its own way. So like, I remember, I think Bulligan was like mentioning too, it's like, with that, like, you can just get away with just designing really anything, because basically everything is controlled in that like its own little frame. So that's, for me, because I wanted to build a lot of the 1022 stuff too, they became like its own. They just got so expensive where I'm not spending $300 on a 22.
I remember before I was a dev, I was looking into buying a 1022, and I'm like, okay, well, I need a barrel, I need, this, I need that, and like, it was $400 after, and these are like people's takeoffs, people's OEM parts, and I'm like, no, not at all. They happening.
I've got to shoot a friend's one, and they are really fun. Like, they're fun. They're just fun things to shoot. But like, I'm not. It almost is like for me, and like the old high point, like the low point stuff like that. Remember, guys, that used to cost $20. Those parts cost $20, and it's a far cry from those days. Like, but that's why, if you're wondering why those were so popular, high point parts kits used to cost $20 at one point, and you could just buy a high points parts kit from eBay for like $20 or $30. Those were the days.
That's really what took it off. I mean, that's how I got here.
I mean, Then I remember when PSR found the FNS 40. I mean, it was really Vin, and I forgot the other guy's name. I'm not sure.
TM.
TM, yeah.
I don't know the numbers, but TM.
TM, they found the FNS parts kit, and like it was that same price. And oh god, that was the beginning of the end when people started to realize when something good was found, it was immediately just stolen for scalpers. It just,
yeah. One of the companies did that and had to apologize.
Oh, would you look at that? Companies and sponsors. Let's so how you doing, Katz? You know, that's a wonderful stream. I love talking to you so much, you know.
I will say, I don't remember the name of the company, so it doesn't matter.
Thank God. I said I wanted you because you didn't do drama, damn it. Oh, I'm gonna cut that. I don't get it.
That's fine. That's fine.
No,
we don't need to bring that up again.
No.
Like,
I'm totally leaving that in because I found it funny. It's like, oh god damn it, we weren't perfect. But yeah, no, it's fine. It was JSDs who you're thinking of. That was JSD 100%.
Gotcha.
JSDs.
I don't remember they apologized and did all this, and I'm like,
well, but now they're now them and like Gideon are like close and and smooth transition back to something else. Great. Okay, so Katz. I guess before we finish off with this too, because I got you here, and you are also a developer too.
Yeah.
I guess. A lot of people usually ask more about like some of the behind the scenes stuff with the catalog and the beta process. And, we've had Dr. Death explain, I guess, his side of, if you want to talk about starting a beta, message him with your own project idea and they'll work, then you can work some stuff out. What do you want to like talk about? Like, it's like if you were to, talk to some developer who wants to like, get into the beta process, like what would you tell them, I guess?
Oh, geez. Honestly, for starting the process, it's probably not anything different than Dr. Death has said. Get him a message, start talking about his project. We will get you a room. We'll get you people to work on it. We will drum up interest for you with your permission, because that's always... we understand. With your permission when you are ready. But... That's all I got for really beginning. I will say, Rocket Chat still exists. I know we don't talk about it a lot, and I'm gonna start talking about it a bit more so we start getting new people in there because I don't feel like we talk about it enough.
Honestly, we don't
Rocket
because
Chat still exists.
Yeah, no one cares about Rocket Chat because it's not Discord it's not Discord and. If it's not Discord, people don't like it because then you have to do a different account, and then when you make a different account and sketchy side, people get creeped out a little bit. That's usually how it goes. Of what is more secure and more useful for everyone is like requires more hoops and like hurdles to jump through. So I'd rather just deal with normie thing that hates me. So like, oh, Discord will just like ban me if I like ever talk about guns on there or like try to make gun beta fight forums.
Right.
But Discord's so convenient. I talk to all my friends out there always. So like, I just want to keep using Discord. Well, like, okay, you can get your account banned. In fact, it's happened several times so far, and you always bring it up. Hey, this has happened like 4 or 5 other times, and you thought you were gonna be different.
You're not painting Discord in a very good light here.
It's great for talking. It's great for watching like movies with friends or playing games and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't do gun dev work here. But I guess But go ahead.
Take it from me. Don't do gun dev in Discord.
You shouldn't.
Just don't do it. You really shouldn't.
You're playing with fire at that point, and everything will be lost in a moment's notice. But I mean, I guess what I was more or less wanted to ask you is, what is something I guess you want to talk to, like developers who are currently in the beta process, or I guess what would be some advice of like how I guess stuff that you witness in the betas, like stuff like you want to like tell like developers who are trying to run betas, like something that you notice or trends that you at least would like to know, like, if someone doesn't talk about, or like, when someone doesn't like act active enough, or products or stuff like that. I don't know. It's what do you notice that you wish you could tell a dev?
I think there's a couple points. For one, I want to remind everyone that our documentation standards for release and release standards are available. You don't have to wait for me to send them. They're in our GitLab. I can always send you the link. Ask me for the link, and I'll send it to you.
That's actually very useful. Okay, we should definitely do that, because I know some people have actually asked about that stuff, so, like, that's actually just great to have. All right, great. We should talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so some of our standards aren't really written because we accept so many different projects that you can't write standards because you can't encompass everything and make all the rules. So there is a bit of case-by-case stuff, which is where the review process comes in. So it's not going to be perfect. It won't tell you everything to do. Sorry, can't do it. But if you're coming up to a release and want to pre-approve something, send it to me. I'll get it through the process, and we can get you a pre-approval. You know, tell you what I would nix you on, what directions to go on certain things. There are some really good documentation projects, documented projects out there, like the UBAR or the KF5, SF5, whatever, the MP5 by Ivan. Those two are prime examples.
You just sent me one because I'm also included in that one of what not to do. But by horribly,
but I haven't.
Oh my! I'll tell you, Ivan has a picture of the press barrel of this is what you don't do if you press it too far. I sent him the pictures myself, and like those were mine. And Ivan was like, "Oh my god, how could you do this?" And then he included it. I'm in that piece of history. I like that one a lot. But go back to what you were saying, because it's actually very useful, because I do know some people actually asked us about it too. There was, believe it or not, it was a fun little drama that was eons ago of, oh, but what are the release standards? So I'm glad to know there is something that is, I guess, a little bit written for people to go off of.
Yeah, there's a package standard. So how your files should be formatted and what should be in there. That is standardized. Some fast and loose as far as like PDF steps or structure. I want to see a photo for every step, roughly. Multiple photos is fine, but roughly if you're saying to do X, I better see a photo of it.
Okay. I mean, I will say, I always hate calling people out, but I will. This is a good thing. A nice little example. Have you seen Nopal stuff? The guy who did like the belt fed 9mm. Then also he's doing the Gatlin one. The Gatlin gun.
I've heard his stuff, but I've never heard his name.
Okay, yeah, so if you check his documentation stuff, it's still kind of all the stuff is in beta, but he actually, he goes step by step, picture by picture. It's actually fantastic documentation in that regard.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of just, I would say, look, I like bringing some of my friends into this hobby, and it's always hard to try to show them stuff whenever there isn't pictures. Like, those pictures do help a lot. Like, yes, for us that have done this enough times, like, do I really need a full documentation for a Mac upper or Mac lower type of stuff? No, I don't. But shockingly enough, the person who's never, dealt with a 3D printed gun file before, who's just starting this, they usually do. It's actually very nice for them to see that.
You gotta remember that your audience is possibly never touched a gun before.
Exactly.
Treat them as such.
That was me not too long ago myself. So, like, those pictures are very nice, and I'm glad to know that is that again, that's something, if you've noticed looking in the catalog's documentation, that is something usually that I've noticed myself as well. Is there's a lot more pictures, and it is a lot easier to follow, in my opinion. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, trying to get better every day.
Anything else?
On that note about documentation in betas, now by no means is this a requirement, but I think this is something some of our more seasoned devs should really start working towards, is those betas that you kick off should be roughly complete. Why do things in phases? Why wait until the end to do your documentation and then have people try and follow it when they've built it without documentation 4 times? You're not going to get good results out of that. Just start with everything. Write base documentation. Even if it's not fully there, work on it. But don't put things off. Yeah.
I mean, my example for that is I like to tell those people too, I guess we could probably mention this. I guess I forgot this a little bit too. I guess we haven't mentioned this. There were that many releases. I don't think there actually were really any releases this month. But Ivan's Plastic Op. But what I was going to get with that was Ivan's. I always like to use Ivan as an example of a very good first beta. If you guys ever get the opportunity to do it or join in an Ivan beta, Ivan's betas are almost always usually fully complete whenever they are like whenever Ivan tells you about a beta, it is almost always complete at that point. It's more of he wants you to mess it up and like show him what's the worst case scenario. Of like it's more of
he wants
it's already done, but
sorry.
like what else what can you show him that he didn't see? I guess.
He wants you to be the idiot that he didn't prepare for, and you break it, and then he prepares for the idiot.
I do a great job.
That's what beta is.
And I do a fantastic job at that. Again, look at that Amigo Grande. That Amigo Grande documentation. In fact, I was such a good idiot in that one. I am forever immortalized in it. So I agree with you on that too. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure those photos made it into the MP5 documentations too.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's just thank you, Ivan. I'm so glad to know Ivan still never forgets about it. But yeah, no, I mean ultimately for me what I like to think about it as well is there is a bad stigma I feel like with some people that are I guess kind of more on the outside that almost view like betas as early access, and I think that's also wrong. Of betas aren't early access. They are. You are still trying to test it. It isn't fully complete. That's why it's still a beta. You shouldn't just expect everything. If it were perfectly safe, everything would be perfect. Well, then it would be fully released. So I think there is some room for error in a beta, but I do kind of agree with you of like it. It would make things a lot easier for also people to join into whenever there's like more documentation, kind of just speed up because for some projects that are really cool that are fully DIY, it's kind of hard to just start, right? If you don't know what you're doing, there isn't full documentation of things like what can you really do. And I'm not trying to call anyone out either because it's everyone has their own different things. Everyone starts in different places. It's kind of pointless to assume everyone would be able. Oh god, I'm probably talking myself in a hole right here, aren't I? Yeah,
I'll save you. So to go back to the early, betas are not early access. So when you are joining a beta, you really should be helping and working on that beta and bringing it to completion. Now, today I'll call him out. I won't drop his name. He asked me if I could change a file that I just put out to the beta members that would work for him. But I will never release the file in the way that he asked me. And unfortunately, I'm going to tell him no, because that's not going to bring the beta towards completion at all. And it'll be if he never reprints it, then it'll be a waste of everyone's time. Like, he's not contributing. I'm not getting a contributing beta member. So what's the point?
That's ultimately,
project moves nowhere.
Ultimately, yeah, it's sort of betas should be for contributing. It is a lot. It does feel kind of fun when you're able to help out a lot. Like, again, one of my favorite ones I remember, the 70 one was fun. Also, the common sense gun control one, 3D printed like fire control group. That one was a fun one to also be a part of because like that one was like, oh, you can use it on like it's AR-15 fire control group. You can put it for a lot of different projects. So that was what a lot of people were doing. I remember I was trying with the FGC9, and I had mine work pretty well. The only issue was I started it. I joined like right before it was releasing, so it was like, oh, I got my stuff to. Oh, okay, it's already over. Okay, it's cool and all, but that's it's just part of the joy of it. It was a fun experience. I liked it a lot. But I guess let me think. Anything else too for you? I guess we're at 40. Okay, we're close at 45. Yeah, I want to make sure we get this a little bit closer. I don't have to edit too much stuff. Anything else you could probably think of too? Of I guess it's not too often we can have another developer kind of talk more about behind the scenes and the beta stuff. So I mean, I think those two things are pretty useful. Anything else you could possibly want to get off your mind?
Don't worry,
we're gonna cut off the awkward silence.
Yeah. My connection is clearly causing a delay, so I apologize.
Oh, it's all right. But go ahead, pretend like you just answered that all from the start again.
I had one last thing. So shit, how am I gonna word this?
The most offensive and the one that would get you in the most trouble. Don't worry, no one will care.
Okay. So in regards to betas, there is a little bit of, it's not common practice, manners. Oh shit, what is that called? Culture, manners.
What culture? Like Moors? Mores? What are we talking about here? Customs?
Customs is probably a good word. So don't take beta files and edit them on your own and present that to the group. Please ask the beta owner first before you make any changes to the files. They may not want you to. So there are multiple reasons for that. That beta file that you may be working on will not be the base file that is released. So if you go and make third-party changes to it, you're doing it on an outdated file. So if that dev fixes something, your file is immediately obsolete. And if you ever release it or ever provide it back to that dev, you're reintroducing issues. Don't do it without the dev knowing about it.
Yeah.
Causes a lot of problems.
I would imagine, yeah, that would
can cause problems.
Well, yeah, you're essentially forking the design almost in a way. You know, to copy a word from Linux or the open source communities. Yeah, you're forking something, but yeah, it's a beta, so it's like it's still not perfect either. So yeah, you are splitting away from something that isn't fully complete yet, and that could cause a whole host of new issues.
Yeah, and honestly, in that beta, the feature you may be asking for or developed yourself may already be provided in the release package. It's not been presented, or may be provided in the dev package. It's just not been presented to the beta testers. For the longest time, the 92, the Sphinx, I didn't release most of the files to people because I was trying to get them to test specific parts, and eventually I did. But I had people try to put Picatinny rails on the bottom of the gun, and I'm like, I already did that. Stop touching my files. You're wasting your time.
Well, you see, like, I feel like that's one of those things where, like, ultimately the most obvious thing to do is, hey, there's a I want to put a Picatinny rail on this thing. Hey, like, you mind if I, like, do this? And you ask that to the developer, which then they can just respond, oh, yeah, I already have that. Or, it's like, no, yeah, like, yeah, that'd be really cool. Like, yeah, that would be awesome if you could do that. That would help me out actually a lot. Like, that's the type of thing where you could easily just solve that by simply just asking. You don't have
just ask.
It's not too much extra work just to say, hey, have you already done this yet? Because I think this would be a coal addition. Because yeah, you're right. The developer might have just already had that. They just didn't really care about testing it. Or like, yeah, they already have it in the works, but they just wanted this thing to be tested right now. Like you're kind of jumping ahead before you need to. I think yeah, that's a good point too.
Exactly. Let the developer test their design in the ways that they have decided to test it instead of jumping around.
I like this little bit of advice just because it's so very specific towards the developer, more or less. Like I bet probably some other devs probably feel the same.
It's happened so many times.
Oh, I believe like some people might whine about like, oh, this just sounds whiny, but like a bunch of devs have probably also just always experienced the same problem. Like, yeah, I've already done like this. Please, you could just ask me about this crap. So yeah, this is nice. This is very nice. But I guess this is. I saw someone in
one of the betas that I'm in, and he was like, "Hey, I took the trigger guard that you had on the beta frame, and I made it more OEM looking." And the dev was like, "Yeah, we've always had that variant. I just stopped including it in the files because this one's easier to print."
That's just. See, dude, it's such an easy thing just to solve by just asking. Yeah, ultimately, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? I guess you could get kicked from beta, but that would be. You would hope the developer wouldn't be that petty. But ultimately, don't worry about asking. Don't worry,
that ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. But don't worry about it. Yeah, don't worry about asking. It's no problem with it. But ultimately, I think this is a good stopping point. I feel like this was actually a lot of fun talking to you. We need to do this in a more casual sense too, when there isn't too much, I guess, beta talk. Maybe talk more about like some of the like actual just behind the scenes dev stuff. Maybe we can get you, Dr. Death, and who would be another good person that's usually behind the scenes? Freeman, maybe. What's another name that people don't really talk about?
Maybe Uberclay.
Oh God, I haven't talked to. Yeah, that would be
maybe.
Yeah, actually, Uberclay would be a good person to talk about. Actually, I feel like a lot of people probably here have heard his name in so many designs. Anyways, it'd be nice to hear from him once. Yeah, that'd be a fun idea.
Yeah. He's not an admin, but he's a moderator who helps moderate our chats. So, here's an extra set of eyes.
If you guys are still listening, leave in a comment and make sure if you guys want to hear that type of stuff, let us know. And that can be a different type of video, maybe something else, but I think that'd be a fun thing to just try doing one of these days. But I want to say thank you again, Mr. Katz, our favorite, resident furry. I guess hopefully we'll have Dr. Death coming back soon, I guess. No more furries in this channel anymore, I'm afraid. Have a nice day. See you guys next week. Or next month. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's been a fun month. We'll see.